Polish extreme metal group named after a biblical beast said to be a primeval chaos monster created by God at the beginning of time.
We are the spirit of God.
Singer 𝐕Get almost lost his life from a battle with leukemia. He also fought the Polish Supreme Court in a blasphemy trial after ripping up a Bible on stage and calling the Catholic Church the most murderous cult on the planet. A confirmed real-life Satanist, 𝐕Get actively incorporates satanic imagery and anti-religious themes into almost every song, lyric, and record the group have released since forming back in 1991. Heavily influenced by black metal pioneers Venom and the Nordic rise of extreme metal during the 90s, this is a group that fully embraces all aspects of the occult and stands against modern-day religion at every given opportunity. Shrouded in mysticism and magic, this is the chant of the Eastern lands, the story of Behemoth.
The spirit of God. And his eyes go on. Say the sword. I have become.
When you think of black metal, most would naturally be drawn to Scandinavia. Emperor, Bathory, Immortal, and of course, Mayhem. Yet connected via the Baltic Sea to the south, Poland has long been a country rich in extreme metal. You have 𝕣Get, formed all the way back in 1983. They started to release demos in the 80s, and their debut record, The Ultimate Incantation, landed in 1992. Then we have groups such as Hate, Azarath, and of course, Decapitated, formed back in 1996. 𝕣Get even started to enter the Polish and German album charts with their second record in 1995. In 1991, Behemoth formed in Gdansk, Poland. Poland itself is home to around 38 million people, the official language being Polish, and ethnically composed of over 98% Polish persons, with around 72% being Catholic Christian. Here's a little clip of the Polish national anthem. Historically, Poland is probably most well known for being the first country to be invaded at the start of World War II on the 1st of September 1939. And of course, vodka. However, Poland is also home to some pretty insane looking castles, and unfortunately, Auschwitz, the concentration camp. After World War II, Poland became a communist satellite state of the Soviet Union, known as the Polish People's Republic. The Soviet Union occupied Bulgaria, Poland, Hungary, Romania, and East Germany, and a pro-communist government was established in Poland. When I was a kid, I grew up in communism. It was kind of melting down and was getting okay, not super radical. So when I was, let's say, 8 or 9, it didn't really feel like we were very much restricted or anything. I couldn't feel any pressure that I was a kid. I just wanted to play. I would do judo. My father would take me and I used to love it. Then I moved on with some other martial arts, so I would do martial arts and then play guitar. That was my thing. My first guitar was given to me for my first communion. During this era, for Polish residents at least, it was extremely difficult to get hold of musical instruments or to even be exposed to Western music on the same scale that, say, the United Kingdom or the United States had access to at the time.
To jest Ameryka.
𝐕Get first heard metal via a national Polish TV channel that would randomly play Deep Purple and Iron Maiden. The radio, of course, would be another gateway for him to alternative music. Poland had a radio station that once a week would play heavy metal for about an hour. but it would literally just be a DJ that played an entire record from start to finish. I found metal very captivating on many levels. The aesthetics of it, the sound, the looks. With metal, you get a package of different elements, ingredients, and puzzles. That just makes the whole landscape very meaningful to me. It just resonates with me. I think the reason why I wanted to stand on the stage and play guitar and sing was, it was ego, you know? I'm coming up with these reflections now during my therapy sessions. I wasn't really heard much by my parents. They were lovely people and still are, but I think I just wanted to be heard, and I don't think I was heard when I was a kid. In 1992, Behemoth released their first cassette tape. It was a demo album titled Endless Damnation. And of course, we have Venom to thank yet again for influencing another extreme metal group such as Behemoth. Behemoth singer 𝐕Get said that Cronus, Venom's frontman, was the first metal vocalist he remembers hearing as a kid, and this is what inspired him to want to be an extreme metal vocalist. Venom, of course, is credited as being the first black metal group that spearheaded the first wave of black metal, forming all the way back in the late 70s. Another big influence for 𝐕Get was Glenn Danzig, known for the Misfits and of course his solo project, Danzig. 𝐕Get was even in a Danzig-inspired band called Wolverine, where he basically tried to sound like Danzig. I remember my brother bought this wreck piece of shit 6-string, nylon string, just some cracked old beaten acoustic guitar he got from a friend or something. I must have been 6, and when I saw that guitar, I was like, holy shit, and I just grabbed it and said, that's mine. 𝐕Get managed to get his hands on his first electric guitar and amp when he was around 7 to 8 years old, and started to write songs straight away. This would have been around 1985. He was born Adam Mikhail Darsky in 1977, and chose the stage name 𝐕Get some years later, taken from the Mesopotamian god of war, disease, and death. Although 𝐕Get is now his legal name. Although on the first Behemoth record recorded in 1992, 𝐕Get went by a slightly more questionable name. That name was Holocausto. He was only 15 when the group recorded this first attempt at their interpretation of black metal. I borrow things from different cultures and mythologies that I can relate to. I wouldn't say I'm an expert on Crowley or Mesopotamia, but I have read about it and know some things about it. I try to take inspiration from different sources. Behemoth isn't about one thing. It's not just about Satanism or the ancients. We are not one-dimensional. We are 100 things at the same time. Many bands claim to be from the spawn of Satan, using imagery, iconography, and lyrics to try and make themselves seem more terrifying, but most are using it as a marketing tool. This worked very well during the 80s for bands like Slayer and Motley Crue. Behemoth, though, are one of the few groups that actually do side with Satan. In most cases, they were scapegoats, martyrs, and negative archetypes, tools that were used in order to make other people into slaves. To me, Satan stands for everything that is dear to me. I've always been very fond of independence and autonomy and free thinking, and freedom and intelligence. Satan has always been a very strong symbol of all those values. So for me, it's very natural to take his side. With his fascination for the darker side of art growing, 𝐕Get would soon discover A Blaze in the Northern Sky by Darkthrone, released February 26, 1992, and take great inspiration from this LP for the second and third Behemoth demo, The Return of the Northern Moon and The Winter Kingdom, both released in 1993. Final demo tape would be released in '94, called From the Pagan Vastlands. 𝐕Get, though, would be even more influenced by a Swiss black metal group called Samael. formed in 1987 in Switzerland, releasing their debut record, Worship Him, in 1991. Samael don't often get mentioned when it comes to black metal, yet during the 90s alone, they released several prominent black metal records, although they did start to transition into more industrial and symphonic metal. The name Samael itself is of course a religious reference. Samael is the king of all demons, the angel of death, the husband of the demonic Lilith, and the archenemy of Michael, the archangel of Israel. This brings us to the debut studio album for Behemoth, 𝐕Get, or Storming Near the Baltic. Released in April of 1995, it would be the Polish extreme metal label Pagan Records that would help 𝐕Get see the light of day. This same label would release the third studio album, Black to the Blind, by Polish extreme metal group 𝕣Get in 1997. Black metal stands for extreme individuality and expression of yourself within its realm. That's what black metal means to me. Of course, this is a great style of music, but I believe that's not everything that black metal stands for. It's strongly connected to your life, and it's a kind of thing, an irrational being that exists among us. Feeds our hungry hearts with its magnificent and totally unique atmosphere and meaning. Something which is hard to express in any mortal language. 𝐕Get didn't exactly break any sales records or smash any album charts anywhere in the world. However, almost all of the music was written and composed by 𝐕Get, who at the time would have only been around 17 years old when it was completed. This was a very pivotal time for black metal in general. Groups like Mayhem, Emperor, Bathory, and of course Immortal had all set the tone and scene for the second wave of black metal, and Behemoth were only just getting started. There is nothing inherently sacred about moral codes. Like the wooden idols of long ago, they are the work of human hands, and what man has made, man can destroy. Satanism in heavy metal during the 90s wasn't anything new. Many groups had adopted occultist themes and concepts in order to simply present a certain image to their audience. This was either to scare people, intrigue people, or just to express disdain for organized religion such as Christianity. Of course, we have Black Sabbath and Merciful Fate, who are well known for dabbling in occultist themes. Merciful Fate's singer though, King Diamond, is actually a known Satanist. And we have Coven, the American psychedelic rock group who in 1969 released an album called Witchcraft, Destroys Minds and Reaps Souls. Whilst not exactly heavy metal, this album did depict a ritual human sacrifice, but it's thought to be the first record to ever display the now iconic devil horn hand gesture on the actual artwork. They even had songs called Black Sabbath, Pact with Lucifer, and Satanic Mass.
Save us, Lord Satan, from the
However, when black metal came along, we saw a drastic shift in how serious some groups were about Satanism and devil worship. During the rise of the Norwegian black metal movement in the early 90s, actual attacks on churches had started to take place, and some were even set ablaze. Behemoth has never set fire to a church. However, 𝐕Get has been very open about his devotion to Satanism over the years, and his hatred for popular modern-day religions, such as Christianity. As with many metal musicians, 𝐕Get himself received a rather traditional Catholic upbringing, which is often a common catalyst for rebellion amongst the youth of many cultures. Polish Catholicism is very shallow. It's based on traditional aspects rather than deep spiritual experiences. As a teenager, I realized it stinks. I don't think I belong there, so I chose the other side. the inverted side. From day one, when I started reading and exploring the satanic concept, it just felt liberating to be discovering it for myself. From that, I would develop my interest in philosophy. I would collect from different angles, but it started with the music, with the rebellious character of extreme metal or heavy metal in general, which Satan is one of the strongest archetypes for. From day one, he's been the animal spirit of any metal subgenre. Behemoth would release 4 studio albums during the 1990s, 𝐸 in 1995, Grom in 1996, Pandemonic Incantations in 1998, and Satanica in 1999. Behemoth, in their songwriting and lyrics, has never shied away from their deep-rooted opinions on religion and the occult. Songs such as Spellcraft and Heathendom, Satan's Sword, Driven by the Five-Winged Star, and Decade of Therion are all great examples of their true self-expression of the world they seek to dismantle. Yet despite this aggression and what you could call evil undertones behind the music and lyrics, singer 𝐕Get is about as human as you can get, and doesn't exactly sit around all day sacrificing people to the overlords of the underworld. With the things I enjoy, they're not 99% satanic, dangerous and evil. I shed a tear when I listen to Johnny Cash singing about Jesus. Many times I've cried to his songs. It resonates with me. Even though it doesn't represent who I am. That's the beauty of art and music, that it's its own language. Our minds are limited at the end of the day. There are things bigger than our intelligence.
Jesus was a carpenter, and he worked with a saw.
Behemoth definitely started to build a solid name for themselves during the 90s with these first 4 studio albums. However, that following was still relatively small compared to commercial metal artists around the time. After all, by the end of the 90s, nu metal was becoming the dominant genre for the new millennium, and you could easily argue that the second wave of black metal had already seen its very short-lived 15 minutes of fame in the blackened spotlight. And Behemoth's career quite possibly might have completely died out at the turn of the century if it wasn't for 𝐕Get's continued, publicly aggressive stance against modern-day religion. The church must only be donated and taxed from its believers. I'm earning decent money, and of course, I'm paying decent taxes, but a big chunk of those taxes are supporting agendas that I'm officially anti. It's a catch-22, it's a paradox. I don't want to be part of that. Take my money to support universities, schools, orphans, things that need to be fixed, not church. 2002, Baphomet, one of the most recognized pagan deities, features prominently on the front cover of Behemoth's 6th studio album, 𝑍os Qui Occultus. Whilst their 5th record, Thelema 6, released in 2000, continued anti-Christian themes lyrically and by the title itself, the visual impact of 𝑍os Qui Occultus was much more direct to the general public. However, both records directly referenced English occultists. The title for 𝑍os Qui Occultus actually refers to Austin Osman Spare. Born in 1886, Spare spent his life as an artist that became heavily absorbed with occultism and magic. Austin Spare would establish his own religion and philosophy that would come to be called 𝑍os Qui Occultus. This religion was founded on the basis of magic. Austin believed magic to be real, and if you listen to track 10 of 𝑍os Qui Occultus, Fornicatus Benedictus, you will hear one of Austin Spare's magico-religious incantations. I can't play the entire track due to copyright laws, however, I can of course show you the incantation itself. Hopefully nothing too spooky happens. Almighty Asmodeus, existent of chaos, ominous by the name, thy kingdom come on earth, lead me into all temptation of my flesh, so I may trespass greatly into thy ways by my desires, for thou art all sex-seeking unity, thou mighty genitalia of creation, that knoweth no cessation. Grant thou my wish, for thou art power, ecstasy, and actuality. Amen. Some of his artwork even caught the attention of the infamous Aleister Crowley. Crowley was also an English occultist who founded his own religion in the early 1900s and has since influenced many, many heavy metal songs and lyrics. That religion was called Thelema, again referenced in Behemoth's 5th studio album, Thelema 6.
We would like to see most of the human race killed off because it is unworthy.
Ozzy Osbourne even wrote an entire song about Aleister Crowley called Mr. Crowley, released in 1980. It features one of the most iconic guitar solos ever recorded by the almighty Randy Rhoads. The imagery of Baphomet is one that by now had been closely associated with not only metal music, but also satanic worship, most notably with a direct link to the Church of Satan. The Church of Satan, of course, was founded by Anton LaVey in 1966, where we can see an image of Baphomet embedded within the sigil of the Church of Satan. The same sigil can also be seen on the cover of Venom's debut record, Welcome to Hell, released in 1981. This decade that would see Behemoth release Zos Ki Occultus would be the same decade that Nergal would start to see the consequences of his actions of freedom of expression. It just so happened that this freedom of expression was targeting one of the largest groups in the world, Catholics and Christians. And if history has taught us anything, it's that these religious organizations don't take too kindly to people speaking out against them. Behemoth even referenced a book called The Antichrist in their 7th studio record, 𝐕Get, released in 2004. The Antichrist is a book written by German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, originally published in 1895, and it seems to very much align with Nergal's views regarding religion. The reference to the Antichrist is not intended to refer to the biblical Antichrist, but is rather an attack on the slave morality and apathy of Western Christianity. Nietzsche's basic claim is that Christianity is a poisoner of Western culture and perversion of the words of and practice of Jesus. Throughout the text, Nietzsche is very critical of institutionalized religion and its priest class, from which he himself was descended. The majority of the book is a systematic attack upon the interpretations of Christ's words by St. Paul and those who followed him. In 2007, Nergal tore up a Bible on stage at a show in Poland. This led to the Polish Supreme Court taking legal action against him and his band, which almost saw the singer sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. According to reports at the time, Nergal called the Catholic Church the most murderous cult on the planet. We'd been doing that for 2 years on tour before it happened in Poland. We were not offending any particular person. We were just offending the religion that we've been raised in. A Behemoth show is a Behemoth show, and Behemoth fans are coming to a Behemoth show. Behemoth fans know what Behemoth is about, know what the lyrics are about, and know at least a little of the philosophy behind the band. So it's kind of surprising that there are people coming to the shows and feeling offended with what we do on stage. This, though, would be one of many legal battles that Nergal and his band would face for well over a decade. They even had shows cancelled because of this. Of course, this is not the first time that a government, country, or religious group have tried to cancel metal musicians. We have the Satanic Panic in the 1980s, where the PMRC essentially tried to cancel bands like Slayer, Merciful Fate, Venom, and even Prince and Madonna. Then we have Marilyn Manson, who during the 1990s was probably one of the most heavily, religiously and publicly protested artists in the history of alternative music. No doubt only taking second place, most likely to Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne. For Nergal, though, religious protest would come to be the least of his worries, as he found himself fighting for his own life. In 2010, he was rushed to hospital for unknown reasons. After undergoing medical exams, he was diagnosed with leukemia, a form of cancer that is often terminal. I remember that the doctor handed me the printout with the description and the details about the type of leukemia I had, and then he left. It was just me and my girlfriend in the room, and I started crying. I had no idea what I was confronting. I just read the word, read that it may be fatal in many or most cases, and it was shocking. I won't play the hero or pretend I'm a tough guy, but it took me maybe 5 minutes to get over the shock, and very soon after, I was shaving my head. It looked like I was going to war, and I needed a warlike attitude and a warlike haircut. 𝐕Get would spend 6 months in hospital undergoing treatment. Fortunately, he survived and was released in January of 2011. He issued a lengthy statement to Behemoth fans explaining what he went through and that he would have to spend several months at home recovering. Finally, after almost half a year in hospitals, several cycles of chemotherapy, radiation, and a bone marrow transplant, I was released home in good condition. I feel good considering the intensity of the therapy. It was not an easy time for me, but as I had planned, I came out of it with a shield. I never assumed any other option, although there were difficult moments. He also goes on to thank doctors that treated him and Behemoth fans across the world who put on events to raise money for various charities and to bring awareness to this particular form of cancer. This experience, though, had a profound effect on the Polish singer, something that he carried through on every future Behemoth record. I told my doctor if my life is going to be about just surviving and praying to stay alive and not being able to do what I love, then I'm not interested in going through this at all. Now I realize that this was the most important experience in my life, and I'm honestly grateful for it. I'm not trying to discredit things we've done in the past, but what differs from other records is the level of consciousness behind it. Now I know that there may not be a tomorrow. I focus on the very moment, and I know for today I'm giving you my very best. The moment is the only thing that we can be certain of. It would be 4 years before the release of another Behemoth album, The Satanist, in 2014. I Loved You at Your Darkest in 2018, and Opus Contra Naturum in 2022. Also during this time, 𝐕Get decided to form a country blues folk band called Me and That Man.
I can't face the future, I can't shake my past.
To date, Me and That Man has released 3 records: Songs of Love and Death in 2017, New Man, New Songs, Same Shit, Volume 1 in 2020, and New Man, New Songs, Same Shit, Volume 2 in 2021.
Just lay down my body and fell from grace.
And no doubt fans will rejoice in knowing that the 13th studio album by Behemoth will be released on May the 9th, 2025. There's a pre-order link in the description if you want to check it out.
This sermon I wake from coma.
Poland, of all places, is probably the last country in Europe you would expect to see an extreme anti-religious metal group emerge and see so much success on a global scale. But it would appear that the sheer drive and passion of one man named 𝐕Get, who started writing songs at the age of 8 in a communist post-war era, would be too powerful even for God to stop.
We are the shit of God.